The Lucha Bros officially exit AEW and sign with WWE. I will give my honest take on this move. And while it may seem like I'm raining on the parade, I will speak nothing but amplified facts. And Smackdown, the word around the campfire, is that Smackdown will be going 3 hours starting next year. 3 hours on a Friday night. Either USA Network, WWE, or both have got to be the dumbest mother... The Amped Up Podcast, Friday, September 20th, 2024. We'll be talking Lucha Bros. No longer a part of All Elite Wrestling, now officially signed with World Wrestling Entertainment. And while everybody is ready to throw a parade on this move, not that I want to be the dude to rain on the parade, because I like parades, right? Everybody's got a smile. It's a sunny day. The big old floats, the silly dancers. Parades are fun. But BC may have to rain on this parade. We'll talk about the Lucha Bros to WWE. We're also going to discuss, word around the campfire anyway, that SmackDown will be going 3 hours at the jump of next year. On a Friday night, 3 hours of professional wrestling's SmackDown. SmackDown. It can barely hold on to 2 hours. Hold an audience's attention for 2 hours. It can barely captivate an audience for 2 segments on a show, and they're going to go 3 hours. You're damn right, we're going to talk about it in this upload. And we're going to start with not just one of my tried and true subscribers on this channel, but a channel member gold team for well over a year, Dave Mealy, in a recent upload. Dave, with a super thanks, super chat, chucked a coffee at the channel. Dave, I always appreciate you, man. So good always seeing you up on the channel, showing that support. Much respect. Right back to you, man. I appreciate you. Dave says, your rant on Charlie Flair has me thinking that the best thing WWE could do would be to have Tiffany cash in after Charlie wins the title. I know it would be stat padding for her, but let's face it, none, absolutely none of her title reigns have made any impact at all. Dave, again, appreciate you big time, man. Thanks for the coffee, man. There's so much to dissect in that. First of all, you're right on all fronts. And I'll start with the very end of that super thanks. Absolutely none of her title reigns have made any impact. They haven't. She's been champion, 12, 13 times, 14, something like that. Not even including her NXT championships. And so well over 10 title reigns. Again, I always compare this to Naomi because Naomi is easily more athletic than Charlie. I am not going to sit here and tell you, because it would be dishonest, if I said Charlie was a better wrestler than Naomi. That's not the case. So maybe you can say Charlie etches her out on the microphone. But Naomi's been there a couple years longer, roughly, and Naomi only has 2 championships. Charlie has well over 10. And you don't remember most, if not all of them. That's sad, right? A lot of them were just, like you said, Dave, patting those stats, right? Just swap it with Sasha Banks like 3 times, just so you could become a multiple-time champion in a short amount of time. So, like, she swapped the championship with Sasha like 3 separate times within like 82 days, something like that. So that's all that was patting it to get to her father Ric Flair's record, which she sits just a couple away from. So everybody's talking about John Cena and Randy Orton getting that record. You know, WWE, the only person that loves Charlie Flair more than Vincent Kennedy McMahon is Hunter Hearst Helmsley. He could have her break that record, for all we know. But as far as, Tiffany cashing in when Charlie wins, Dave knows. Charlie's getting that title, and probably from the jump. Don't get it twisted. You're probably going to see Charlie Flair, Nia Jax, Queen versus Queen for the title, right? That was this whole Nia Jax winning the Queen of the Ring, calling herself the Queen, coming down on the throne. Was that SummerSlam or something around SummerSlam? She comes down on the big throne. Everybody's carrying her. She's the Queen, right? Well, that's patent, and it's getting you ready for the real Queen to WWE, Charlie Flair, obviously. So she's getting the title, and it's just going to be another non-memorable run in title reign for Charlie, or are they going to make it fun? Are they going to put a plot twist? Is Tiffany going to come out of nowhere, cash in on Charlie, leaving even Nia Jax shocked? Wait, you're my sidekick. How are you walking away with the title? It's not Charlie, it's not me, you? Right? And if you want Tiffany to be a face down the line, which she's already getting a great reaction, I mean, that's one way to do it, possibly. Because Charlie comes back as a face. Within 2 weeks, she always is automatically a heel, right? She doesn't know how to take the boos. And because she doesn't fully connect with a lot of the audience, instantly Charlie starts to get boos. When she cuts a 5-minute promo, within 60 seconds, you start to hear boos or people are just sitting on their thumbs. They're no longer captivated. They go, ooh, Charlie's back, because she's been gone for a while. So it's like that, oh, they're back pop. And then after that, ooh, they're back pop, you're reminded of just what it is. It's Charlie, her robotic promos. There's nothing really special of substance that captivates you, unless you're a true fan, right? Every one of these wrestlers has their fan base. That's different. But connecting to the broader audience is what you're trying to do, right? That's what people like Stone Cold or Hogan, Warrior, Savage, Rock did it. When you can broaden your base and bring in casuals or people that never really gave you a second look, but now they're like, hey, you know what? They're pretty damn cool. And they never really did that to Charlie. So within a couple weeks, the last time she came back, if you guys remember, she turned heel like instantly. Because there was some boos, she didn't know how to really handle it. So she started to cut a heel promo while being a face. It was wild, man. So WWE doesn't know what to do at that point. So then they just turn her heel, and then they turn her back face, and then heel again. And before you know it, it's like Big Show, Kane, Nia Jax, Charlie Flair, and so many others. They turn face and heel 86 times because they don't know how to book them. They're lacking that connection with the crowd. And because of that, they just think, hey, if we keep turning you, maybe it'll feel fresh. So that's a longer conversation on what Dave is saying here, but long story short, long answer short here, Dave. And again, I appreciate the coffee big time, man. Always good seeing you up in here. But long answer short, that would be badass, man. At least it's a twist. Charlie's going to get the title anyway. Might as well have some fun with the Tiffany situation. Because at this point, it looks like Tiffany is just going to have her squabble with Nia anyway. Might as well have Tiffany cash in on Charlie, right? That way Charlie doesn't just walk away with the damn championship for the next 6 months to a year. Again. Dave, salute. So all the rage currently in the community is Smackdown getting a third hour at the top of the year. So if you were not fatigued enough over a 2-hour Smackdown every Friday night, USA Network is willing to help you by giving you a third hour of Smackdown. So the answer to SmackDown's current problems is just add more problems onto it, right? You can't get 2 hours correct, so let's give you a third hour. Let's pile it on even more. It's like collecting debt, right? You don't have the money, you throw down your credit card, you have all the intention in the world of paying that later. Before you know it, the interest builds up. You're not really making as much as you would like. So you're in a scenario where you're spending more than you're earning. And before you know it, your debt starts to inflate. And you're like, I don't even know if I can make the minimum payments. So you just, but then you're at that point, you're already in that vicious cycle, right? Where you still have to buy groceries. You still have to fill up those tanks. You still have to buy all the necessities to get through your day and through your life. So you're still throwing down the same plastic that has put you in debt. Well, it's the same thing here with wrestling, man. 2 hours of Raw, 3 hours of Raw, 2 hours, it wouldn't matter at this point. 2 hours of SmackDown. These shows need a lot of work, a lot of life put into them, a lot of creativity has to be put into these shows because they're lacking. And instead of putting your focus on quality over quantity, their answer is just throw another hour onto it, right? And it goes for all the companies. Before AEW Dynamite really took off consistently, there was already plans for Rampage. Why? Just do Dynamite really good. Way in the future, you can come up with Rampage. Took years and years for WWE to come up with Smackdown. Took a long time just to get Monday Night Raw. After years of that, then they introduced Smackdown. There's no use to introduce Rampage immediately after Dynamite. And when Rampage was not pulling in the numbers that they were hoping for, they decided the answer was to add a third program, Collision, which I think just last week scored, they didn't even hit 300,000 viewers, actually. So, I don't know this concept in pro wrestling of more. Quality should always supersede quantity. In the rare instances where quantity actually leads to quality, well, then that's the best case scenario. Good job, you made out like a bandit. Sometimes quantity leads to quality, but that's only sometimes. All the time, you should be focusing on quality over quantity. So if your 2-hour show is lacking in so many areas and so much attention needs to be put on those 2 hours, why would your answer be throw a third hour on? Especially when you're head of creative, Hunter Hearst Helmsley himself. He has said this many times, guys. But there's that one famous interview that he did that gets played all the time. But he has said this many times. The third hour of Raw is the hardest to produce, the hardest to write. And that third hour obviously affects the second and so on, the first hour. The whole show is affected by that third hour, according to Hunter Hearst Helmsley. So according to Hunter Hearst Helmsley, the man of three H's, he's telling you, you're never going to get the best show possible unless we cut down that third hour. And then we can at least begin to create this correctly. That's what he's telling you. As long as that third hour gives those creative writers, gives Hunter Hearst Helmsley those headaches, you're never going to get the best possible show. So we all praised USA Network recently during this extension that they just cut a deal with WWE for the next 3 months until WWE Raw goes to Netflix. They're going to have an extension. It'll stay on the USA Network. And there was this announcement that it's going to be cut to 2 hours, and we all praised USA. Finally, it took this long, and it's their final 3 months of Raw, but at least it's going to 2 hours, and we're finally going to get a better product. But before you praise them too much, they just went and took that third hour of Raw, and it looks like they're going to place it at the tail end of the 2 hour Smackdown at the top of the year. They're giving that third hour Raw to Smackdown. And before I go any further, by the way, full transparency in conjunction with full disclosure. Nobody from NBC Universal has spoken on behalf of USA Network that this has been confirmed. It has not been officially announced. So this is all speculative based on recent reports that it's going 3 hours. But that's always been the discussion. It's always been heavily believed that SmackDown was going to be 3 hours. Now reports and people are starting to talk more about it as they hear more things. But NBC Universal has not confirmed that on behalf of USA, and Endeavor has not confirmed that on behalf of WWE. So that is just for full disclosure, full transparency in totality. Now with that stuff out of the way, back to the matter at hand. Adding more problems on top of your problems is only going to give your headache a migraine. At some point, you're going to have to tackle that problem head on and say, hold on, wait a second. The head creator, right? You're going to have to show Hunter some type of respect if you're USA Network and say, all right, if he's telling us that third hour is just too hard, maybe we should look into that. Then on top of that, you say, well, BC, it's business. The third hour is going to bring in a lot more money for USA because of the ad revenue. It's more ad space. Even if you only put 4 commercials in that third hour, that's at 3 minutes a pop. Whether it's 15-second ads, 30 seconds, maybe it's a couple of 5-second, a couple of 10s and 2 30s. Either way, that's a lot more money. But guys, over the last several years, we're starting to see something with the numbers. It's not just the ratings, by the way. The ratings you see on average are 1516 for WWE Raw. And SmackDown's ratings, the last 2 weeks on Fox, broadcast television, they were barely holding on to 2 million. The debut on USA this past Friday pulled in 1.7. So they're on a drastic decline. So the ratings are showing you it's a decline, but also we're starting to see numbers that advertisers are not finding the third hour of pro wrestling appealing anymore. So there's this big asking price if you want to show your product on our channel on WWE television. You're going to have to pay a hefty price. But now the advertisers are like, well, wait a second, why? You're pulling in 1-1, 1-2, 1-3 in the third hour. If you want to put me in the first hour when you get the bulk of your audience, 1-6, 1-7, 1-8, okay. But I don't want nothing to do with that third hour. It's not worth the price you're at. So now they have to downgrade their pricing. And even then, advertisers are like, no, thank you. We're starting to see a lot more of that. So if your thing is business is the reason that you're getting a third hour, well, even that type of business, that revenue, even that is being subdued. It's absolutely taking a hit. And let's break that down if you want real quick, right? Because I love speaking in facts because we can get to a better understanding if we leave our opinions to the wayside. Just speak in facts and we can get more accomplished. If you look at WWE's numbers on average, right? Let's just say Hour 1 WWE Raw pulls 1-7. Hour 2 pulls a 1-5. Hour 3 pulls a 1-3. So 1-7, 1-5, 1-3. So your average for that show is basically 1-5. 1-5. Now, if you were to put all your efforts and your focus into a 2-hour show, instead of wasting all of this on quantity, just making sure you have a third hour of mediocre television, 3 hours of average TV, as opposed to 2 hours of really good TV, if you're going to take those 3 hours and do a 1-7, 1-5, 1-3, flip it over to if you did do the 2-hour format really good instead of the 3-hour average. Let's say you were pulling in the top end of what a wrestling show should be doing in 2024, which is anywhere between 2.5 and 3 million viewers. That's right, even in 2024. And for anybody that goes BC, that's unrealistic in 2024. Cord cutting, people watch highlights the next day, streaming services. You're not pulling 2.5 to 3 million BC in 2024. I call BS. First of all, the studies were already done. These discussions have already been had. Research has been conducted. And absolutely, pro wrestling should be pulling in 2.5 to 3 million up front. And for further proof, just a year ago when the Bloodline story was red hot, or white lightning hot, I should say. You guys remember they were pulling 2.5, 2.6 for Fox's Smackdown. 2.5s and 2.6s. That was out of nowhere, by the way. They were pulling in 2.2s and 2.3s. Monday Night Raw stuck between 1.7s and 1.9s, and all of a sudden you're getting 2.5s and 2.6s. So you're right between that 2.5, 3 already. Out of nowhere. And that's coming off of really subpar, mediocre television beforehand. So they didn't even have a really good lead in. That was just all Bloodline. 2.5, 2.6. So we know that because it just happened last year with that whole storyline when it was really good. Now you see a bad Bloodline storyline or a bootleg Bloodline that not a lot of fans are into. It's not that exciting. And it's no wonder why now the ratings are 1.7. And even before they went to cable, they were barely holding on to 2 million viewers. If the product is not good enough, it's going to reflect, it's going to show in the numbers. So the point in that conversation is if you're just adding a third hour, what are you doing? You're just adding more weight onto your problem, and eventually enough weight is going to sink the ship. If you cut ties with that third hour and focus on quality over quantity and making 2 hours really good, it's going to trump the 3 hours of really average. So let's see what we're talking about. What did we give the 3 hours? Right, we said 1.7, 1.5, 1.3, average of 1.5. Well, you can add them all up then. Hour 1, hour 2, hour 3. 1.7, 1.5, 1.3, that's what, 4.5? 1.7 and 1.5, so that's 3.2, and then 1.3, so 4.5 if you add up all the hours. 4.5 over the course of 3 hours, watch it, 4.5 million. Now, if you took bare minimum 2.5 million per hour on a 2-hour show, just 2.5, 2 hours, that's 5 million right there. And again, they just did that. They did 2.6s when Roman and the Bloodline were really kicking off. And not much more was going on those shows. But right there, guys, you already pulled in a bigger viewership. And when your rating per hour is over 2.5, guess what you can do with your advertisers? You can raise those prices. Guess who's going to pay those prices? The advertisers. Why? Because 2.5 to 3 million people are watching that show. That's how it works still in 2024. Ratings still matter, and those metrics still matter, and that way to conduct business still matters. But when you're pulling in 171513, that's not that appealing. We talk all about the demo, right? 18 to 49. That's what the advertisers are really looking into. Well, guess what? 18 to 49 demo as part of a 1.3 audience is going to be a lot less than a 2.7 audience. Probably by, I'd say 30 to 40%. I'm breaking it down in every which way imaginable without trying to confuse you guys. The third hour is a drag. They know this, but for some reason, they're too scared to drop the third hour officially. They're thinking that quantity will solve their problems. As long as Hunter can just get this right and it can start to be creative again, if wrestling can hit that boom and enough people will watch these shows, man, USA is going to work out like a bandit, man. They're going to have 3 hours of 2.5 television. It's not going to happen. Smackdown will never get to 2.5 consistently. Unless the first domino has to fall, and that is they have to drop to 2 hours. So if they start at 2 hours going forward, which they already did last week, but going forward, next year comes along and they say, you know what, we are not going to do the 3 hours. If they make that decision, this show has a chance, absolute real chance to get closer to 2.5 if it stays at a 2-hour show. That's their only chance. It's their only chance. And if they can get 2 to 4 stories to get really catch lightning, absolutely they can pull that. And it's a Friday night. It's hard. I get it. But before on broadcast television, they had 2.6 out of nowhere. I absolutely believe that they could have a juggernaut if everything starts to click correctly. But for that to happen, you can't go 3 hours. At that point, mark my words, because this will happen. If they go 3 hours, you are going to see numbers like this. And this is, if they're lucky, 1.5, 1.3, 1.1. And I'm being generous. I'm keeping them above 1 million all 3 hours. But you will see that. Roughly 1.4, 1.5, 1.3, 1.2, and 1.11. Roughly around that. And that's the best business you could possibly. Over 3 hours, your total audience would equal what? 3 to 3.5? You don't want to try for that 2 million that was watching on broadcast, or over 2.6 at one point. You don't want to at least try to break 2 million per hour for 2 hours, where you could pull in over 4 million. It's wild, man. 1.7, 1.5, 1.3 over 3 hours would pull a 1.5 average. If you were pulling in 2.9 and a 2.5, your average would be 2.7. Your average for 3 hours is 1.5. Your average for two could be 2.7. That is 1.2 million viewers more than 3 hours. Listen, I didn't want to have to take you guys to math class, all right? I'm not trying to put you to sleep like a Monday Night Raw or a Smackdown. I am baffled that this is even a discussion that you're going to make SmackDown 3 hours. And again, we don't have confirmation, but it did look like from the jump that that's where this was headed. The discussion has once again sparked up. If they go 3 hours, you're pretty much putting that final nail into the SmackDown coffin, because Hunter Hearst Helmsley himself has said the third hour is so damn hard to produce. So your answer is, good luck. We believe in you, kid. Good luck. I know it's really hard. I know it affects all 3 of the hours, but do your best. Try to get that 1.4. Is that really what... I mean, I'm baffled by this. This is absolutely it's the wrong way. It's literally right and wrong, right? It's the wrong way to go about business. It's literally just stuffing more at lower, instead of less for higher, right? Less hours will equal more viewership. Less hours in terms of that more viewership is going to equal more dollars. It's business 101. I don't understand why they don't understand themselves. A 3-hour weekly pro wrestling show does not work. More does not work in pro wrestling. Unfortunately, we love pro wrestling. You would think we would be saying, hey, more wrestling, yes, make it 4 hours. The shows aren't good enough, and they're not good enough because these writers, these head of writers, these producers, the owners of the company, they don't know what to do with 3 hours of television. They're burnt out. And then the fans get burnt out and fatigued, and they check out, and the numbers show you that. 3 hours of Smackdown is a disaster of a decision. I don't mean to over-exaggerate, over-embellish, be dramatic about it, but it is a destructive decision. The Lucha Bros quietly left AEW and have signed with World Wrestling Entertainment. If you're a big AEW fan, you're probably not that thrilled, right? You're probably thinking, wow, TK gave you that platform, put you on the map, and that's how you show your gratitude. And if you're a WWE fan, you're probably thinking, yes, this is awesome. Penta, Phoenix, I'm going to be able to show up to the arenas and yell, this is awesome, 10 times a match. Or if, I'm sure there's a lot of WWE fans that don't even know what a Lucha Bro even is. But no matter what side of the spectrum, side of the fence you're on, you probably feel some type of way about this decision that the Lucha Bros have made and the WWE has made to sign them. The Lucha Bros, we all know they have immense talent, right? They're immaculate in so many ways. Not just the skills, what they can do in the ring. They can ooh you and ah you and make you yell, this is awesome. They can do all of that, that's obvious. But their presence alone, their aura, when they come through that curtain and down that aisle, you're just instantly like, yup, they're legit. That's it. If you throw gold titles on them, they look like they more than belong. So the Lucha Bros check off every box. Nobody's concerned with what they can offer to the company. The real question is the company going to be able to get out of their own way to help themselves and the Lucha Bros in the process? BC, what do you mean, man? Simplify that statement, BC. I will absolutely adhere to that request and simplify. To say that WWE's tag team division is in shambles would be an understatement. To say that the WWE tag division is irrelevant would be an understatement. You would have to use a word like non-existent, because WWE's tag team division is non-existent. You have tag teams for sure. You have Street Profits. You have Pretty Deadly. When the other Viking comes back, you're going to have the Raiders. You're going to have tag teams. And first of all, I feel like you have more factions than tag teams these days, so that's another issue, right? You always have to have 2 out of 4 individuals out of a faction. So that right there downgrades the prestige of a tag team. You have so many factions, it feels. I would have to actually count all the factions and tag teams. I bet you it's pretty close. But you have all these tag teams, and you have nothing for them. You have no creativity put into anything that any of these teams are doing. They're all 50-50 booked. So no fan, even a casual fan, they can't get behind anybody because they just don't feel like winners, right? And they don't feel like winners because they're always losing. As much as, if not more, than they win, they lose. So everybody's 50-50 booked. There's no consistency with the booking. There's no substance to the creativity. Again, there is none. You have weird decisions like DIY winning the tag titles just to hold them for 28 days. 28 days. So DIY defeats Waller in Theory after Waller in Theory had just got him a month or two beforehand. Then DIY gets him. Then DIY loses him 28 days later to Gorillas of Destiny. And that was just to be trophies behind Solo, right? Just so it looks like Solo, but behind him is all this gold. They just used the tag division for a Solo Sikoa promo. On the Raw side of things, Miz and R-Truth win the titles, and they don't even defend them. I think they had one defense in a couple of months, and then they just got rid of them. I think they threw them on Judgment Day. And Judgment Day barely defends them either, by the way. The women, just as bad. Isla and Alba win them because it was Scotland from Bianca and Jade. How that makes any sense, I have no idea. And then once they were out of Scotland, the plans were put in motion to just put the titles back on Jade and Bianca. Guys, you could keep going on and on. This type of booking will never allow any fan to actually invest into what's happening. You can like the individuals, but you're not invested. So there's no tag team division. So you just signed the Lucha Bros. That's awesome. Everybody's throwing a parade. The streamers, they're trying to light off some fireworks, right? You got the big giant floats. It's a sunny day, man. This parade is going off without a hitch until BC asked the question, what are the Lucha Bros going to do in WWE? Are they going to put on 7-star, 8-star classics? Are they going to put on bangers? What are they doing? Are they going to make you go, this is awesome? Because judging by how Hunter Hearst Helmsley books the tag team division, there is nothing they're going to do. In fact, it'll maybe take a week or two, and they'll be stuffed in the LWO or LDF. Because that's how Hunter books. Because you laugh, but that's what he does. I mean, you can already see that the Lucha Bros are going to be doing something with LWO or LDF almost instantly, right? Because that's how he books. And on that same note, the Lucha Bros are coming in and everybody thinks this is going to be, this is going to be epic for the Lucha Bros and WWE. But you haven't even gotten Andrade over yet. They don't know how to get Andrade over. Andrade puts on really good wrestling matches, by the way. He's got immense talent. That doesn't mean he's anywhere near getting over, and he's not, unfortunately. Escobar has immense talent, can put on really good matches, can make the crowd go, this is awesome. He's the farthest thing from over. You have so much talent, and you lump them all together in the LWO and the LDF, and then you bring over Lucha Bros, and what? If you don't change the way you go about your business and you don't offer true creativity or anything we can truly invest into, we're going to get the same old, same old. The only difference is we have more people invited to the party. But the occupancy is like 100 and you invited 200 people. So you have all these people stuffed together at this party. Well, that doesn't seem like a party. That's not a fun party. And when you have too many people stuffed together, people are going to start leaving. This is no longer fun. You're inviting more people to the party, but you don't even know how to properly be a good host to the people you already have at the party. Concentrate on who's there first. Make sure they're having a good time and being treated correctly before you add more, because you're just going to make it miserable for the people showing up to the party too. The Lucha Bros are best fit for AEW. That's the truth. You guys want the honest truth? I always give it to you. They're best suited for AEW. Now, I'm not saying this wasn't in their best interest. Maybe it was more money. Maybe they think this is going to be more exposure and they will get proper booking. They will be utilized better than AEW. We don't know. I'm guessing all of those things were checked off and that's what they believe. Good for them, and I hope it does come to fruition. But if you know AEW and WWE, it's clear that they're best suited for AEW. Because Hunter Hearst Helmsley ain't gonna know what to do with a Lucha Bros. Other than stuff them in weird groups and factions. We'll get good wrestling matches, that's for sure. Is there gonna be anything we care about beyond that? Because if not, you're not just hurting your product, you're hurting the Lucha Bros. And maybe they made a boat ton of money so they don't even care. Who knows? But before everyone throws a parade, whoa, more great wrestlers coming to a wrestling show, you got to ask yourself, what is it really going to do? There's enough wrestlers in WWE that can put on bangers, give you 6 stars, and make you go, this is awesome. That's not what's lacking. The ratings are not in the shitter because there's not enough wrestling talent that's really good. The ratings are in the shitter because there's nothing creatively to get invested into, so the fans are fatigued and bored. That's the amplified truth, and only BC is going to give it to you. But you know damn well I'm right. Nobody is claiming there's not a lack of good wrestling on. You can find amazing wrestling every day of the week, twice on Sunday, the local bingo hall 4 times on a Friday. Great wrestling. You can yell, this is awesome from sun up to sundown. It's not what's going to make a television show or a wrestling show good. It's just not. That's great. You have good wrestling, great wrestling on a wrestling show. What a concept. Pro wrestling is way more than that. So if you're just going to hire two dudes that can make you go, ooh, ah, and you think WWE is going to what? Propel them to the promised land? I hope they're needle movers. But to do that, Hunter has to have a solid plan in place. I wouldn't put it past this dude where his plan is, oh man, we're going to mix you up with the LDF. Oh man, I can already see it. Penta and Phoenix are they're going to have a feud with Santos Escobar and his group. Oh, like you just did with LWO and LDF since the beginning of time, it seems. That's captivating, man. The matches that Penta's going to have with Escobar, right? That's what we're going to start talking about. Phoenix and Mysterio. I get it, man. We'll ooh and we'll ah and we'll talk about how these are dream matches. But if you think this is moving the needle, no, it's going to take a lot of creativity. It's going to take a plan to be put in place. And WWE is going to have to utilize them correctly for the majority to care. Otherwise, you're just adding more talent at a time where more talent is not your problem. Name's BC Amplified, the Amped Up Podcast. Until next time, and there will be that next time. Top guys, we are out. BC saying check you. By the way, a little post note as well. We're hearing that Miro has asked for his release from All Elite Wrestling. Could Miro also be showing up back to WWE as a Rusev Crush? We'll see. But that's a little side note as well. I'll get confirmation. It is a report that he has asked for his release. As of this recording, that's all we know. All right, until next time, there'll be that next time. Top guys, we're out. Check you.